Welcome back to the Cap Report, and you love to see it. We hit 100 subscribers, and let me just say thank you guys so much for that. It's a huge milestone, and I truly appreciate how much the channel's been growing over the last 2 months. That being said, this video is very late. I kind of went through an up and down of if I wanted to make this video. We're going to be talking UFC 279 in the aftermath. Granted, it was like 2 weeks ago, but as I said before, whether the news is new or old, if I want to talk about it, I'm going to talk about it on this channel. You know, I just didn't get to see everything that happened in the card, so I was a little iffy on if I should make a video, but nonetheless, we're here. I'm making the video, so let's go ahead and get into it. It was a pretty solid card despite all the craziness of the week. I will say it wasn't my best card from a prediction standpoint, but what can you do? You win some, you lose some. I went 2-3 in my predictions, and some I haven't mentioned before, but yeah, I've been tracking my picks for fights for like, I don't know, since like I think UFC 254 or something like that, and I'm at 126 and 78 all time. I kind of want to start mentioning the all-time record since I make so many prediction videos and whatnot. But getting into the card, you know, moving on from all the extraness, getting into the card, I'm really happy to see Diaz ride out on a win. In the main event of UFC 279, Nate Diaz won by 4th round submission. He caught Tony in a guillotine, which Tony attempted a takedown. That fight got a little weird at times, but I thought it was pretty good. I won't lie. I thought Tony was going to finish the fight in the 3rd round when he started getting those big reactions out of those leg kicks. Tony didn't look bad in this fight actually, but I do think that it shows the level of competition that Tony should be fighting right now. Looking forward for these guys. Nate's contract is officially up, and I would expect him to look towards boxing, you know, get the paycheck. The obvious choice here of where he's looking at is Jake Paul, but it might be some time till he gets that fight, if that's the payday that he's looking for, as Paul did just announce a boxing match with Anderson Silva. If Diaz was to return to the UFC for another fight, it would have to be a huge fight for sure, right? Something like the McGregor trilogy. For Tony Ferguson, I think it's clear that he should stick to fighting older legend type fighters if he does want to continue fighting. If he continues to try and fight contenders, I don't think it's going to end well. I don't know if this move to welterweight is permanent or not, but he would have options at either welterweight or lightweight if we did look at kind of the older legend style fighters. If he chose to stay at welterweight, we could see options like Matt Brown or Robbie Lawler. At lightweight, I'd say you could look at options like Clay Guida, Jim Miller, and Joel Lozon. Looking at all the options available, I think the lightweight options are better for him, but I think Tony wants to stay at welterweight. Originally, for his matchup, I had Robbie Lawler. I didn't realize though that Lawler was already booked, so he could wait and fight Lawler. Could be an option. You know, as I said, I do think he still needs to give time for his chin to recover because I don't think he should have fought this card. But instead, for now, I'm gonna go with Jim Miller as his next opponent, which we could really fight at either welterweight or lightweight. And Miller's looking for guys to fight. He wants to fight till the UFC 300, right? So if we're looking forward for Tony Ferguson, matching with a guy like Jim Miller, I don't want to see him go out as a guy who consistently is getting knocked out or like beaten to a pulp or something, you know. He very much has the feel of one of those legends who's gonna retire way beyond when they should have and really hurt their legacy. Honestly, I don't want to say it's as bad as this yet, but Tony Ferguson gives me BJ Penn vibes in terms of how his career is gonna end. That he's just going to keep fighting years and years and years beyond what he should, become something that he shouldn't have been, you know, really hurt his legacy and whatnot. And I really don't want to see that happen, even though I'm not the biggest Tony Ferguson fan comparative to a lot of people. Moving to the co-main event, Hamza defeated Kevin Holland by submission in a rather dominant fashion. I don't think that there's a ton to take away from this fight. Hamza came in hyped up and did a good job sticking to his game plan and got a really impressive submission win over Holland, a BJJ black belt. In my predictions, I was saying that I thought that if Holland got in Hamza's head, that would be how he won. Obviously, it didn't play out that way, but what can you do? I do think this puts Hamza in a kind of peculiar position. Not reading into any of the conspiracy theories here. I don't, you know, of what happened at UFC 279, but I don't think that you can give Hamza a title shot after missing weight that badly. It's crazy because this whole event was centered around him to build him up. This was built to build up Hamza, and he ended up being in the co-main with a lot of fans turned against him. You know what I mean? It's crazy. And looking forward to what's next for these guys. As I said, I don't think you can give Hamza a title shot now, but he's got options. Assuming he stays down at welterweight, then Colby Covington is likely the fight to make, right? Alternatively, if the UFC is still angered by his actions, you could give him like Geoff Neal, a guy a little down the rankings from him. There's also the possibility of moving back up to middleweight. If he does, then Paulo Costa is probably the fight to make there, right? Given their run-in last week, and Costa's like all over online now trying to troll and, you know, make fun of Hamza and whatnot. But looking at all the options, it's quite clear to me what fight should be next for Hamza. It's Colby Covington. Number 1 versus number 3, and what could pretty much be a number 1 contender fight while we wait for the trilogy of Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman to finish. Kevin Holland saw his 2-fight win streak at welterweight broken this weekend. Where does he look now? Assuming he stays at welterweight, why not put the Daniel Rodriguez fight back together? It's a fight both guys want, and it would give Holland a shot at a ranked guy, which granted maybe you say he doesn't deserve coming off of a loss, but there, you know, extra circumstances to it, right? Yeah, in my opinion, I think that's who you give him. Just go ahead and make that fight again. They can run it back pretty soon if they wanted to too. And then moving on, in what has been a highly controversial decision, Daniel Rodriguez defeated Liang by split decision. I didn't fully see this fight. I was working during the fights, but I mainly missed the third round. Personally, I had Lee winning the first 2 rounds, so I had him winning the fight either way. I really don't think that he should have lost his ranking to Rodriguez over this though. Granted, it's just the 14th spot, but I don't think it's fair to take it after he had to change opponent on 1 day notice, which I get Rodriguez had to do as well, but his opponent also weighed 10 pounds heavier than him at the weigh-in. So although that they are the same weight class, I think that this is a different scenario, say to 2 guys in the same weight class who are already pre-agreed on a catchweight bout, right? So say Rodriguez and Holland ended up actually having fought on the 279 card, right? They're both welterweights, but they were going to fight at a catchweight, right? That, I don't have an issue with it maybe affecting the rankings, given it was a short notice thing. That's why they did it that way, but they're both guys in the same division who had agreed to fight each other. But I just think that the situation is so odd and random that I don't think it's fair to take Liang's his ranking from him. For fights to make from here, I think there's 2 different directions you can go for D-Rod. You could look up the rankings and give him a ranked guy, like maybe Neil Magny or Michael Chiesa. Alternatively, you could look to remake D-Rod's original fight, as I said earlier, with Kevin Holland. Personally, I would like to see the Holland matchup, but we'll see how it plays out, right? So if he's got a ranking now, maybe he's going to want to look up. I would think he's like 35. It makes more sense for him to look up if we're being real. So maybe you'll give him a guy. Well, I would say maybe you give him a guy like Michael Chiesa, who's on a bit of a down run, but is stylistically a very interesting matchup for D-Rod. You know what I mean? 2 guys with kind of very opposite strengths. For Lee, I'm not really sure what to put together for him. I'm thinking maybe you give him Tim Means or maybe Gunnar Nelson. That's my best guess though, honestly. I'd say maybe Gunnar Nelson would probably be the better option here. Irene Aldana versus Macy Chiasson. This ended up being a great fight. What a wild finish with the up kick liver shot. I don't think I've ever seen a finish like that before. It was crazy how dominant Aldana was the first round, and to almost see her lose the second round and then finally finish in round 3. You can make the argument for a title shot for her now. Granted, this was a catchweight fight, so you have to keep that in consideration. Though I can't remember off the top of my head which one of the 2 were going to miss weight. Probably, I think it might have been both of them, honestly. They both had issues with it before in the past. But looking at fights to make here, Aldana's on a 2-fight win streak with the division kind of barren at the top for new matchups for Amanda Nunes. You could make that fight to match up Aldana with Nunes. You could even do it at featherweight if she's having issues making weight, you know what I mean? If you don't want to give her a title shot off of this, right, you can match her up with Juliana Pena. If she wins, give her a title shot. But I do think that all roads are pushing towards Aldana hitting a title shot soon, assuming she kind of continue to handle her business. She's a fresh matchup. She's a pretty dangerous striker. I think it'd be a fight I'd like to watch, Nunes versus Irene Aldana. For Chiasson, probably look to give her a lower ranked or unranked fighter. As I said, this has happened in her career before. You know, she'll get a couple wins together, fight, you know, move up a step in competition and kind of fall back a little bit, right? As I said, you look to give her a lower ranked fighter or unranked, or maybe even someone close to being ranked. You know, you could say like Lucy Pudilova coming off a win, or Priscilla I can never say this girl's name right. Priscilla Cachoeira. And finally, we reach the opener where Johnny Walker defeated Ian Kushalaba by first round submission. This was not the result I expected at all. Walker really got me on this one, but it was good to see him get a win here. I can't give too much analysis for this fight. I haven't got a chance to watch it yet. I missed basically most of it when it happened. As I said, I was at work, so what can you do? There's not a ton of fighters around Johnny Walker that's available right now for him to fight. I think you could probably give him like Paul Craig. That would be an interesting matchup. And for Ian Kushalaba, maybe you give him like Ovince St. Preux or like Tyson Pedro. Like, he can't string wins together. I don't know what they'll do with him, you know what I mean? He wins 1, loses 1, wins 1, loses 2, wins 1, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know where you go for him from here. Alright, that being said, that is the video. Let's try to keep this one a little quick. As I said, it's a little late, but it is what it is. Once again, thank y'all so much for the support the page is getting. I appreciate it beyond what y'all can think. I think the most motivated I've ever been. I think I've said in some past videos, sometimes the motivation struggles, and I definitely, when I started writing this video like a week ago, the motivation was very much lacking, but I don't know, something just clicked in me today. I'm really excited for where this page could go, and I think I'm gonna really start putting a lot more into it. So that being said, this is a cap report. I appreciate all, what are we at right now? I appreciate all 161 of y'all who are subscribed, and anyone who subscribes when they watch right now. Leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. I'll stop rambling now. Peace.